have been a living nightmare. Her daughter, who we're calling Olivia, is on trial for falsely claiming to have been attacked at an INAPA hotel in July. I've been speaking to Michael Polak, human rights lawyer from Justice Abroad, which is providing help to the teenager, and her mum, and we blurred her face to protect her identity.
I was travelling to work on the train and she phoned me and I was absolutely devastated. I went absolutely numb, I was shaking and I couldn't really process anything. I don't remember the detail of what she told me at all. It was horrendous, it was absolutely heartbreaking.
And obviously you flew out to be with your daughter in Cyprus. How was she when you got there?
She was a changed person. She was very withdrawn. She was quite terrified of everything. She didn't want to leave the room that she was in. She was very jumpy. You know, when she left for Cyprus, she was a sort of beautiful, bubbly, happy girl that was very confident, and she was totally different when I got there.
And she said she'd been gang raped by a group of Israeli teenagers who were also staying at the resort where she was staying. And the police had been investigating that, and things changed, didn't they, when she was asked to go to the police station again one evening to help answer a few more questions. What happened?
So it was Saturday evening and she took a call from the police to come and collect her around 6:15. She'd been feeling really ill all day. We'd already been to the medical clinic twice that day to change medication that she was on. And she went with the police thinking that she was going to do something quite administrative. So she'd not identified any of the men that they'd arrested at that point. She'd not done any formal identification. And she expected it would be something to do with that, I think. And she thought she'd be an hour or so. That's not what happened. She was asked to make another statement, and she says that she was forced into making this false confession. So yeah, then she was arrested. She told me that she was absolutely terrified while she was going through that whole process. They said that they would arrest her. They said that they would get an international arrest warrant for her friend if she didn't sign the confession. And if she did sign the confession, that they would let her go. And she just wanted to get out of there.
So effectively, your daughter went from being the victim of a crime, she said, to being charged with making up the claims of rape.
Yes, that's exactly it.
And how did you react to that? How did she react to that?
Well, how did I react to it? So I'd gone out and found my daughter to be in this terrible state after being raped. She was terrified that she got HIV, and she'd been to the clinic several times, and then she'd been arrested. It was absolutely, I can't even explain how unbelievable it came across. You know, I just literally couldn't believe it, and it took lots of hours for that to properly sink in.
I'm going to bring in your lawyer, Michael Polak, who is a human rights lawyer from Justice Abroad. They're a legal aid group providing help to you and your daughter. I mean, on the allegations that Olivia has made, that the police effectively put her under pressure and forced her to retract her statement, the Cypriot police reject those claims. They reiterate that the 19-year-old British woman was asked to make additional statements by which she withdrew the allegations she had initially made, they say.
Well, the interesting information around that night when she was taken to the police station was that she was in the police station for 8 hours. She didn't have any legal representation. There's an interpretation as well. And what we did was we had expert evidence we brought from the United Kingdom to the trial to show that that retraction statement is unreliable. So we had the evidence of Dr. Andrea Nini. He's a forensic linguist. He went through the retraction statement and he said it's highly unlikely the words included there are the words given by an English-speaking person. And he did that on...
i.e. the words were written for her and she was forced to sign?
They were dictated to her.
Right.
And the probability of that coming from an English-speaking person, he said, was highly unlikely. It's a mathematical exercise that he performed, going through the combination of words together. And he also said it's highly unlikely that someone's able to fake the process because of how difficult it is to know which words a non-English speaking person will use together. So his report was very compelling. We also had Dr. Christine Tizard. She's a psychologist, expert in PTSD. She works with the military all around the world, and she gave evidence in regards to the effects of PTSD on the teenager, how she would have been feeling at the time. And it's not surprising that the teenager did give a retraction statement after that 8-hour ordeal, given the state that she was in.
So you are clear that the initial rape allegations that your client has made are absolutely truthful?
Well, we say the evidence supports what she's saying happened on that night. And the interesting thing in the trial so far, and we've had all the evidence in the trial, is the Cypriot authorities have...
Sorry, just to be clear for our audience, this is her trial, the trial
This
against
is her
her
trial, yes.
for allegedly making up these claims.
It's a public mischief trial in the district court in Paralimni. And during the trial, the interesting part of it is the Cypriot authorities haven't brought these Israeli youths along to court to say, this is what happened. So the only evidence we have in the trial process about what happened that evening is from the teenager herself.
Let me go back to you, Jenny. So your daughter has been on trial, as your lawyer has just explained. The charge is public mischief. We would understand that as effectively making up the rape claims. She is now waiting to find out whether she is guilty of that charge. How is she in terms of, how is she coping while she's waiting?
She is still quite withdrawn. She's still suffering from the symptoms of the PTSD. So she sees things and she hears things. She has either insomnia or hypersomnia at any given time. So insomnia can go on for 2 or 3 days where she doesn't sleep at all, and hypersomnia is when she's sleeping sort of 14, 16 hours a day. And she keeps going through cycles of that. But otherwise, she is quite hardened to it. She's quite resilient, and she's very keen on getting justice.
She's had her passport removed from her, so she can't leave the country even if she wanted to. Has the British government done enough to help you and your daughter?
So the embassy out here in Cyprus at sort of grassroots level have been sort of helping with things like getting prison visits when she was in prison, and they've attended court. So that's in particular, one consular officer has done that. So she's done some of that in her own time, but at a sort of senior level, a sort of diplomatic level, I've not seen anything from them. My ex, so Olivia's father, met with the vice consul called Christina Smith out here with our lawyers, and they were told, and this is the same attitude from my MP, that nobody can interfere because it's local judicial process. Now, I understand that, but in this case, human rights have been violated, and I find it really shocking that neither Europe or the embassy or our government feel able to make sure that her rights are being observed, quite honestly.
I've got a statement from the Foreign Office. Our staff continue to support a British woman and her family following her arrest in Cyprus. We've made a number of visits to her in detention, attended court hearings, and are in contact with her legal representatives and the local authorities about her case. Michael Polak, a lawyer representing some of the Israeli men, had previously said that video clips made by at least one of those initially accused of rape by your client had contradicted the woman's account. What do you say to that?
Well, the video clips have gone into evidence in the trial, and we've asked police officers about them, and they've confirmed that there's nothing showing group consensual sex.
Have you seen the video clips?
We have, yes.
Right.
And the judge has seen them as well. The officers have seen them. We've asked questions about them. So we asked the officer to describe them for the court, and nothing in there shows group consensual sex. So lots of information was put into the media immediately when the Israeli youths
as if, in your view, Olivia, your client, was being raped by these men?
On the evening of the rape incident, it shows consensual sex with one man, and it shows others trying to enter the room and being told to leave the room. That's what it shows.
Right.
So it doesn't show the
Understood.
exact rape incident, but it shows a precursor to that.
Understood. Okay. And because earlier on in an evening your client was having consensual sex with one man, does not mean she wasn't raped later on in the evening.
Of course, and the videos seem to show people trying to get into a room where they're not welcome, which gives you a bit of a flavour as to what was going on there.
And Jenny, what would you do if your daughter is found guilty of this?
Yeah, she when I last spoke to her on the subject yesterday, she's absolutely resolute that, as Michael said, she will keep fighting it, she'll appeal, and she'll take it to the highest level. And I'll absolutely 100% support her, definitely.
Well, thank you very much for talking to us. I really appreciate your time, and obviously we will follow what happens. The verdict is due at the end of December, is my understanding.
Yes, the 30th.
Right. Jenny, you're staying out there clearly with your daughter over the Christmas period. Thank you very much for being on our programme today, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And Michael Polak, thank you for your time as well.
Thank you, Victoria.
Our Action Line website.